So this last video is going to be a pretty short one. All I'm going to do in this is just make controls so that I don't have to go in there and annoyingly grab these joints back here that are hidden by the geometry. I'm going to make nice big bright controls so I can just click those and they're then going to control everything below it. So what I'm going to do is just make this a little bit smaller. Is go up here to my shelf, and I've got a few things up here that you won't have on yours. I've got a Renderman, a Turtle Custom, a Bullet, and an XGen tab. But the tab I need to use is the Curves and Surfaces, which for you guys will probably be on the furthest left, inside there. All I'm going to do is just make a simple NURB circle. And the great thing about a NURB circle is if I just hold down right click near it and go to Control Vertex, I can grab these and I can move them around so I can make shapes. Just like we did when we made our pipes and stuff. So that's what I'm going to use. But first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab my control and hold in V. I'm going to snap it to my very bottom joint there. Right there. And then from here I'm going to scale it up a little bit, reposition my vert like that, my axis like that, and I'm just going to make a very simple control like that, something that encompasses the entire foot, which is quite visible. I can go in there and I can use the Control Vertex to shape it a little bit as I want, but for now, just for expediency, I'm just going to make a circle like that. So I might have my pivot point in the middle like that. I don't want my pivot point back there because when I rotate, all the rotation is going to come from like the middle of the foot. I want my rotation to come from the very back of the foot. So just like before, I'm going to hold D and V. I'm going to reorientate that back there, like that. So this one I'm going to call my left front foot CTRL for control, and then I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate it, and then I'm just going to snap that over to the right, to the other foot, and then I can just change the name on that to right foot front control, like that. And then I can just do the exact same thing for the back feet, and that's my right back foot control. Oh, take off that one, and then I can do the same thing, move that over to my back foot. So then I've got my left back. So now you can go in and you can make curves however you want them to represent these feet. I'm just making these really simple at first, just to, again, expediency. So these front 2 feet, I want those to be a blue colour, so that I can easily recognise what's the right foot and what's the left foot. So I'm going to make these 2 blue. And how I do that is, I can only do one at a time as well, but I'm going to open up my attributes editor here. So I'm going to go to my attributes editor and I'm going to look for left front foot control shape with this shape selected, and I'm going to go down to object display here. So I'm going to drop that down and I'm looking for drawing override. So I drop that down again and there we go. So I'm going to enable override because I want to change the colour. I want to override the colour of my shape. And at the very bottom here underneath colour index, I'm going to just change that to a nice bright blue. And then I can do the same for that. If I don't close my attribute editor, then it's always going to come up to this page again. I can just go through and I can just change the colour of that like that. Very nice. So for my other 2 on the side, on the right side, I'm going to change those to a red for right. So a nice bright red and another nice bright red. There we go. So one thing we have to do though is we have to freeze out all this transformation because we want all these to be 0 down here. We don't want any information inside here, and no history, no anything like that. We want these to be very naked blank shapes. So, with all those selected, I'm going to go up to modify and freeze transformation. So then all these numbers are zeroed out, and of course scale needs to be 1, obviously. And then go to edit, delete by type, and history. Do not delete all by type, just go to delete by type and history. So if there was any history applied inside here, it is now blank. These are all nice and gone. So the last thing I'm going to make now is my pole vectors for my knees, so I can actually start to move my knees around. And I'm going to do that by making another circle and then just snapping that to a knee, because it's going to be controlling this joint here. I just want to snap it to that, and then I'm just going to move it forward a little bit. Well, I'm going to duplicate it and then snap to the other knee, actually, and then move those forward. Rotate them around so that they're nice and flat. So what I've got to do actually is I've got to open up my, well, I've got to grab my IK handle for my back leg there, and I'm looking at this control, this circle with an arrow here. And what I'm looking for, if I go to the top view, it'll be easier to see. I want this to be going through the center of this of my curve, and here it looks like I've pretty much hit it bang on. Yep. And the same for this one. It's going to be bang on for this one as well. Yeah, cool. So then I can go in there, I can change my overrides for my colour, so that I know that this is a pole vector on the left side or on the right side. There we go. And then I can do the exact same thing. So I'm duplicating that controller there, and I'm moving it forward and snapping it to the center joint here of this point, because obviously the rotate plane is going to affect this joint here. I'll do the same for this one, duplicate it, snap it to that first knee, and then I can move those forward. So now I've got to name these joints, these are not joints, sorry, these controls, and I'm going to name this my left, my left back pole, I'm going to say PV, but pole vector, CTRL, and that's going to be my right back PV control. So what, like, if people are kind of like struggling to get a kind of like a naming convention thing in their head, think about what side it's on, if it's front or back, what it's controlling, and then what is it. So in this case, it's on the left side, or in the right, sorry, it's on the right side, it's at the back, it's a pole vector control. So that's how I'm naming these. And then these will be a left front pole vector control and a right front pole vector control. There we go. And again, just like we've done with the feet control down here, I want to make sure that there's no information in here whatsoever, so that they're all nice and naked and empty. The reason we do this is if we're posing a character, or if we're animating a character, we want to be able to take that character right back to a standard pose within seconds. So if we zero out all these controls, it should go back to this position. If there was still information applied inside here, then we'd have bad times, lots of bad times. We don't want that. So I've just done the same. I've frozen transformation and I've deleted the history. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create my pole vectors for each one of these. And we've done that before with a leg, but just to go over it again, I'm going to select my control and then select my IK that I'm putting my pole vector on, because this is flipped, and this, you know, people were struggling with this in class. This is a constraint. This isn't a parent, it's a constraint, because we're using something inside the constrain menu, and whenever we're making anything, we're using anything inside here, we need to affect the controller first and then the IK. So I'm selecting the controller first, then the IK, constrain, pole vector. because then that line is now drawn. So if I go back to my IK, you can see there's a line being drawn from my IK to my control, which tells me that I can now control that. Same, so I'll do the same for the back leg. Select my control first, then select my IK, constrain, pole vector. Change that around. Grab my control, grab my IK, constrain, pole vector. Check that works. Grab my control, grab my IK, constrain, pole vector. Check that works, which it does. Cool. So now everything about this character is now set up to what we've done in class. The only thing I might make now is just for now, is a generally pelvis control. So that instead of having to go and grab this joint back here, I can make a nice big control which snaps on the back of the pelvis. Nice and big. So now this is a standard, so I'm going to name that root control. Now because this is going to be a parent, sorry, we still need to parent these controls to the feet. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So yeah, I've just made that root control. Well, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in there and override that and turn it into a nice yellow. There we go, yellow. So that's now my. Click white then. Oops. Yellow. There you go. So that's nice and yellow. So I know it's in the center. I need to now parent these controls to the feet to actually give them motion. So I'm not grabbing these. I'm grabbing this to control stuff. So just like we did with the constrain, well, not just like, but with the constraints as a pole vector, we select the control first and then the IK. In this version, because this is a parent, we grab the child first, which in this case is going to be our foot control, because we want this to be controlled by this. So we grab the child first, shift select the foot control, so we've got these two selected. So the joint should be white and the control should be green. I'm going to hit P. That's my parent. So now that control now controls my foot. I can go through again, grab the joints first, just grabbing that first joint, shift selecting the control, hitting P. Now that selects my foot. Grabbing the joints first, shift selecting the control, hitting P. That now controls my foot. Selecting the joints first, then the control, hitting P. That now affects my joint. And then for the big control at the back, I'm going to select my root joint, select my big control, hit P. There we go. So now that controls this. There we go. So now everything's set up there that we can actually start to animate this. Like you've seen in class, I had an animation running with this. This is exactly what I used. Nothing's different about this. So that's where we're up to now. The controls have been made, the IKs have been made, the joints have been laid in, the reverse lock joints have been made, everything's nicely working. So we should be in a really good place for next lesson. Cool. I'll see you in the next video and I'll see you in class.